Hi everyone, my name is Kate. Welcome back to my wondernetting channel. In today's video, we have a knitting tutorial. Finally, we're gonna knit poncho. As you know, ponchos are trending right now, so I decided to knit one for myself. It's super easy knitting tutorial. Even a beginner in knitting can make this poncho. Of course, you can use any yarn that you like. I just like this very thin lace yarn, sequin yarn, because it makes poncho look like a web. So let's get started. Before we start, please subscribe to my channel, like this video and leave your comment. It means a lot to me and means a lot to this video. And let's get started. We'll need about 50 grams of lace yarn. I'll be using this Party Deluxe, which I ordered from Hobby. The link to this yarn will be in the description. It has sequins in it. In my case, 50 grams equals 250 meters. We'll also need big needles because that gives us the airy web-like effect. I'm using 12mm needles. They don't have to be circular, straight needles work just fine too. The bigger the better. For this thin yarn, you can go with 10 or 12mm needle. First, we need to leave a yarn tail about 130 centimeters long. We're going to cast on stitches now. Take one needle and hold the yarn in your hand like this. You should have some tension between your thumb and index finger. Place the needle onto that tension, bring it under the loop on your thumb like this, and without taking the loop off your thumb, bring it under the index finger. Pull it through the loop on the thumb and place it onto the needle. Now you got 2 stitches on your needle. From here on, we'll be adding them one by one. Next, we again bring the needle under the thumb, then under the index finger, then through the loop on the thumb, and tighten it. That gives us another stitch. Try not to tighten the stitches too much, keep them nice and loose. Keep going like this until you've got about 64 stitches or however many you like. The more stitches you cast on, the wider your poncho will be. Don't worry if it looks like too few stitches. For a big poncho, believe me, they'll stretch out a lot. Here's what I've got. I cast on 64 stitches, and yes, don't worry if it looks like too few, they're going to stretch out a lot. Now, if you still got a long tail left, you can cut a little bit, but not too much. We won't be knitting it anymore. You can also twist it a little bit so you don't accidentally knit with it. So hold the needle with the stitches in your left hand and gently slide them closer to the tip. Just be careful so they don't slip off. Like I said, we don't need that yarn tail anymore. We're going to knit the whole poncho using only knit stitches. It couldn't be simpler. Insert the needle into the stitch from the front just like this, then wrap the working yarn from the back, pull it through and place it onto the right needle. That's your first knit stitch. You can tighten the tail a little bit. Next stitch, make the same way. Go into the front of the stitch, wrap the yarn, pull it through and onto the right needle. That's it, these are knit stitches. Work all stitches this way. Try to keep your knitting loose so the stitches don't get too tight. It'll make it much easier to work the next row. The first row is always the trickiest, so if you're a complete beginner, don't rush to think that you are doing something wrong just because of this row. Trust me, the first few rows are always the most awkward to knit. You just need to get through this one. After that, it'll get much easier. I'm finishing up the last stitches now, and make sure you knit the very last one as a knit stitch too. See how much our stitches have stretched out already? Next, turn your work, slide all the stitches back toward the tip of the needle, and continue knitting exactly the same way as the first row. Just knit stitches all the way across. Insert the needle through the front of the stitch, wrap the yarn and pull it through onto the right needle. The rest of the stitches are worked the same way. Super simple. We'll be knitting only knit stitches until the very end. And if you want your stitches to settle into place a bit better, you can gently pull them down like this. It helps them open up and look neater. So keep knitting like this for about 13 rows. Honestly, with such an airy web-like yarn, it's pretty hard to count rows, so I suggest just measuring in centimeters instead. The width of this piece will sit across your shoulders. It's the part that will drape down over your arms. So knit as much as you like, depending on how wide you want it to be. I'm going to do around 13 rows, which comes to about 11 centimeters. After that, we'll start making decreases, and don't worry, they're super easy too. From this point, once you've knitted the length you want, by the way, I don't recommend making this section too wide, we are going to start decreasing. Decreases are super simple and we'll be doing them on every single row. To decrease, just knit the first 2 stitches together. Insert your needle through the front of both stitches at once, rub the yarn and pull it through, and now 2 stitches have become 1. Then knit across as usual, and when you get to the last 2 stitches, do the same thing. Knit them together through the front. From here on, we'll keep decreasing like this on every row. At the beginning with first 2 stitches and at the end with the last 2 stitches, until we are down to 3 stitches or 2, depending on how many you cast on at the start. We don't alternate decrease rows with plain rows, we decrease in every row. At the very end, you should end up with a triangle shape like this. Don't worry if your stitches look uneven, that's just because we're using very lace yarn. If you try regular yarn with matching needle size, you'll get a denser fabric, which also looks really nice. Feel free to experiment with different yarns and needle sizes. When you've got just 2 or 3 stitches left, here I had 4, I make the final decreases, knit 2 together until you're down to 2 stitches, then one last decrease to knit those 2 together. That leaves you with just 1 stitch on the needle. Cut the yarn, pull the tail through that stitch and tighten it into a knot. And there you go, a finished triangle. It won't be perfectly sharp because the yarn tends to curl a bit, but that's the beauty of this web-like effect. We need to make 2 of these webs, and honestly, you can finish this poncho in just a day or 2, it's super quick. By the way, you can totally experiment with this shape. For example, you could tie it around your waist or even wear it as a little scarf or a bandana. It also looks absolutely gorgeous as a hair accessory. If you're knitting with cotton yarn, I recommend to block your triangles now, so the stitches open up and take their proper shape. I'm using polyester. I'll steam them with hot iron to help the stitches settle more easily. Now you need to hold your triangle up to yourself and place markers or some kind of marks where the opening for the poncho will be, the spot where your head goes through. Don't make it too wide or too narrow, your head should fit comfortably, but it shouldn't slip off your shoulders either. It's enough to put markers on just 1 triangle. We'll need a crochet hook for this next part. If you knit it with large needles, use the largest hook you have. I'm using 6mm hook. It's easier for me, even though I also have a 12mm one. Take your yarn and start making slip stitches along the edge up to the marker, including the straight rows we knitted at the beginning. We don't start exactly at the corner, start a little bit from the bottom. Since it's hard to see the stitches clearly here, I recommend just inserting the hook into the next closest 3 stitches. Make sure to crochet very loosely so the slip stitches don't pull the edge in too tight. At the very end, make chain 1 and cut the yarn. Once you've joined 2 triangles together, this is what you should have. I recommend gently stretching your work a bit so the stitches settle into place. Here's how the poncho looks without the fringe. It's already wearable and looks unique on its own, but I'll add a fringe to make it even more interesting. For the fringe, cut the yarn pieces about 32 cm long, fold it in half and pull them through the stitches along the edge of the poncho. Make any kind of knots you like. With this type of yarn, it's best to tie the knot a few times so the fringe doesn't come undone. Continue all around the edge, trimming if needed. And there you have it, a trendy poncho. I really love it, especially because we used lace yarn and it gives the delicate web-like look. By the way, with Halloween coming up, you could make something similar for a costume too. I thank you for watching this video, I'm sure you did as well. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments or DM me on my Instagram. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye, kitties!